Good morning, everybody. I welcome you all to our HR conclave. Some of our guests are on their way, just finished with their breakfast. So we'll be waiting for just a few minutes and then we'll commence the events for today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard to a great day. Today, I'm extremely proud standing in front of you all in welcoming our panelists and delegates. Our Chancellor Sir, Professor P.K. Khosla is also here. Thank you, Chancellor Sir, for gracing this occasion. It is our Chancellor Sir because of whom we all are standing over here. Sir, kudos to your great leadership. Then we have here our President, Innovation and Marketing, Professor Ashish Khosla. Sir, I would definitely like to say what a visionary you are. Shulni Online has boomed leaps and bounds under your leadership, and I'm sure that the day is not very far when you would be number one in the world in online education. And I would like to welcome all the deans, directors, and my colleagues from whom I learn every day. I feel honored to stand here and share the room with the stars of the industry. And finally, we have our valued listeners. I welcome you all over here, and I would like to really thank you for gracing this occasion. It is truly an honor to stand before you today as we embark on this journey together, exploring the dynamic and ever evolving world of human resources. But before we commence the events for today, it is only fitting that we seek the blessings of Goddess Saraswati to illuminate our minds and hearts with the light of knowledge. So I would be honored to invite our Chancellor, Sir, Professor P.K. Khosla, our President, Innovation and Marketing, Professor Ashish Khosla, and the delegates to please come upon stage and light the diyas. Also, I would like to call Amit to recite the Saraswati Vandana.
वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती मात पिता तुम अखिल जगत की वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती हम सब बालक शरण तिहारी दया दृष्टि हो जननी तुम्हारी शरणागत की लाज बखानी तुम प्रतिपालक सब जग जानी तुम प्रतिपालक सब जग जानी मात पिता तुम खिल जगत की मात पिता तुम खिल जगत की वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती मात पिता तुम खिल जगत की मात पिता तुम खिल जगत की वंदना करूं शारदा सरस्वती.
Thank you, everybody. So after seeking the blessings of Goddess Saraswati, so let's start the context for the day. Human resources, as we know, is the backbone of any organization. It is a driving force to foster a positive workplace culture, to nurture talents, and it also ensures that employees feel valued and motivated. As Peter Drucker once said, the most valuable asset of a 21st century institution will be its knowledge workers and their productivity. This conclave is an opportunity for us to delve deeper into the pressing issues and emerging trends that are shaping the HR landscape. From harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to enhancing recruitment and talent management, to cultivating a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our discussion over these 2 days will cover these broad spectrum of topics that are pivotal to the success of any organization. So, again, I would like to extend my gratitude to our distinguished speakers and panelists who have graciously agreed to share their insights and experiences with us. And I'm sure we all will learn something new today from the insights. So, as we commence the significant event for today, let's explore the dynamic and transformative world of human resources. And it is my great privilege to introduce and call upon the stage our esteemed Chancellor, and he would set the tone for our discussions and reflections. So, our Chancellor, Professor P.K. Khosla, is the visionary leader with an unwavering commitment to academic excellence and holistic development. Under his esteemed guidance, Shuli University has flourished, becoming a beacon of excellence in education, research, and community engagement. His words of wisdom and vision will undoubtedly inspire us as we embark on this journey together. So, without further ado, it is my great honor and privilege to invite to the stage our distinguished Chancellor, Professor P.K. Khosla. Please join me in welcoming him with a warm round of applause.
Dear friends, delegates, faculty members, and everyone present in the hall, it's not my subject, but I can only say this is very important. Artificial intelligence has been important right from the ages. For example, when I was graduating, doing my PhD, I was not good in English. अब थीसिस तो लिखना था और लिखा अब ये नहीं मैं चाहता था गलती हो मैं जो हमारे बड़े अच्छे स्टूडेंट होते थे जिनकी इंग्लिश अच्छी थी उनकी चमचागिरी करता था और उनको कहता था मेरा थीसिस पढ़ दो दैट वाज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस my exposure to artificial intelligence started when I was writing one manuscript. So I only use this to the extent I will write. I'm fond of writing. And then give the material to the artificial intelligence for correction of my English. Just I said, my English was not to that level, though I had ideas, but grammatically mistakes. I never got good marks in English. If I tell you how many marks I got in English and metric, it was 79 marks out of 200. In intermediate FSC, I got only 46 marks out of 150. अगर 45 आते तो fail हो जाता. And in BSc, we had English optional. I got 15 marks out of 50. Those were not added to my total. Then in BSc honor, there was no English. I taught the university. In MSc also taught. So what I'm saying is, it's a time, but nobody could know that I was intelligent enough to cover up things. So this is a tool now. Artificial intelligence is a tool now. It's very important. And I had been employing it, using it for my corrections. जो लिखो पढ़ के टाइप कराओ और artificial intelligence को दे दो. So everybody is to use the things, this facility, according to their own needs. It can be for the business, it can be for the teaching tool, it can be for something. So here your theme is artificial intelligence for human resource development. Yes, everybody has to learn it. Even if I was not good in English, I also had to learn. There may be many persons like me, those otherwise are good, but They may be requiring these tools to grow up in career, for facilities, for business, for research. So without artificial law, this tool, artificial intelligence, you cannot, I would say, survive in the modern society. And in a way, this seminar, this gathering should concentrate on all these issues and come up with the consensus how we can utilize this for human resource development. Because India is a large country, its population, this is a set. Everybody says India is going to be the world power by 2047. I also believe it. The way we are moving ahead, definitely we will be the masters of the show the world over. This is India's time. I recall that in 1969, 1969, 1969, no, 1699, 1699. That was a very crucial year in the Indian history or in the Hindu civilization when Aurangzeb died. Britishers came. Though I'm not the supporter of the Britishers, I feel if the Britishers are not come here in this country, you would not have grown to the level. You could not have become the world power. The Britishers came, it created challenges for you. They did not intervene with your religion. They were not concerned with anything. The safest thing came to the, I would say, for the Hindus, because there were religious upheavals between the rulers and the public. The rulers were different, the public was different philosophy, but the British didn't touch it. So in a way, I would say that the arrival of the Britishers for 150 years that gave us technology, that gave us the common language, where India had 14 languages. We could not have talked with the southern people or the northern people and the eastern or the western. This is all the God's drama. India has to become the one of the top, I would say, the technologies and the top country of the world. And for that, something common was required. Something common was English, the communication language, and we have adopted it. For us, English is not, it is a foreign language. It is an Indian language, which is developing the human resource. Tomorrow's human resource has to look at all these things so that the country grows, people grow, and the economy grows. And the great future, my dear colleagues, because we may not be here, I may not be here, but I am sure by 24/7, the India will be a great country and you will be the master of the show. So youngsters who are sitting here, the boys and the girls, they will be harnessing the fruits of Indian economy. Wish you all the best. That human resource development is very important. The better the people, the better will be the economy and the better the growth. So utilize your time, resources for the development of the economy of the nation. It is a great nation. It has to be a great nation. And there is no second thought. India will not revive, cannot revive or will not revive its past glory. You will be the masters of the country, world over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. Thank you very much. So, as sir pointed out, the way we cultivated and adopted English, which was a foreign language for us, to harnessing and adopting artificial intelligence, which is our future, and therein lies our all prosperity and greatness. So, let us begin with the proceedings for the day. Let me invite our President, Innovation and Marketing, Professor Ashish Khosla, for enlightening us and also to start the conclave with his session on upskilling India.
Hello everyone, good morning. And over the day, today and tomorrow, we look forward to your insights on this particular topic, which is AI for HR excellence. I also like to thank all the teachers and students who've taken time off to be with us today. I'm sure this will be a significant learning for all of you. I don't see Nancy. She said, I want to be here, our HR team, but fine. Oh, you're there. Fine. Okay. Take the day off, listen to what's happening in the world, right? Today, I'll take a slight detour. So while we're talking about artificial intelligence the next 2 days, I thought we'll take a small detour. Amar and I will come on later to tell you about AI in learning and what we've done at Shulni later in the day, I think after lunch. But right now, I'll talk about lifelong learning and India's potential to be the powerhouse of the world, because I think that is something we all need to know is so important. And why is it so important? And what is going to be the importance of learning in this whole thing? Does it work? Okay. So, there are some advantages India has, and we all know about it. One advantage is that, frankly, if you go to any software leader in the world, any company, you will find an Indian CEO or an Indian CTO. So we've got a proven capability in services and technology, in terms of customer support, data management. If you have any field like that, you have an Indian graduate sitting there, right? So that's one. There is no doubt that India has the capability of producing leaders in terms of thinking about technology. We, for example, have our computer science team here, and we have around 24 PhDs in CSC. And all of them have contributed to journals across the world, which are amongst the best. This thing doesn't work here. You can move it up. Move the page. Okay, the other thing is that it's not only about technology. If you look at India, there is a cost advantage. And that is the big thing about India. It's not that we take billions of dollars to do things that can be done at a fraction of the cost. So, an example of this is this chart that I'll show you. And this is the cost of doing something in India versus in various parts of the world. Can somebody guess what this was? When I made this chart around 6 months back, it was very much in the news. So it took the US 4,000 plus crores, actually 10,000 crore rupees, to send a probe to the moon. Yeah, so India takes around 600 crores, Russia 2.5 times what we take, and China 3 times what we take, right? And that, if you look at the PPP, which is the purchase parity of the Indian rupee, that is what drives it. So when I have my friends coming from the US, and particularly when they come to Himachal, they say, "Arey yaar, tune to 100 rupees mein breakfast kara diya," right? I said, "How much would you have paid for it?" He said, $70-80 in the US, right? And that's around what? That's around 70 into 100. That's almost around $5,000. Yeah. So that's the fact that we have a sustainable cost advantage. And if it is there in manufacturing, it is there in almost every realm that we talk about. So that's the advantage number 2 that we have. The third one is, and we've been hearing about this ever since we were kids, is the demographic advantage that is coming to our side. So when I was a kid, when I was 20 years old, they used to say the average Indian age is 16. So, when I was 22, they used to say the average age in India is 17, right? So today we all know we are the most populous country in the world. Yeah. But the thing is, as of today, I'll talk about that in a minute, we do not have the largest workforce in the world. That crown still belongs to China. So what has now happened to India that's going to happen over the years is that, and this is the working population age in India, all these young people are getting into the workforce gradually. Okay, and that's what we call the demographic dividend. Of all of you who study human resources, keep hearing this in the news. Demographic dividend. Dividend is the money that you get out of the good work that we did in the past. So the good work that is happening to India is our youth is entering the working population en masse, right? It was 500 million in 2000. It is going to be 756 million, which is 256 million in a few years from now. Never before in history has any country produced this amount of potential workforce. Never before, not even in China. And by 2035, we add another 100 million to that. A huge number of people from India are entering the workforce. Let's compare this to China, and that's very important. As of today, like I said, we have the working population of India is less than that of China. Okay? But by 2028, we will exactly be the same as China. And that is the tipping point for India. Now, currently, if you look at the economic growth for India, it is actually higher than China, right? And I've been looking at it since 1992 when I did my MBA. And with great disappointment, I would say India at 2, 3, 4%, and China at 8 to 10%. It's only over the last 1.5, 2 years we see that shift coming in. But suddenly India's economic growth rate is higher than that of China. Sorry. But the key point here is that by 2050, and that's a long time away, but that's the fact, we will be 50% more than China in terms of our workforce population. Right? Think about that. China suddenly will have an aging population. And the reason I'm showing you China is that it's a populous country with a population similar to ours. What is going to happen to US? What's going to happen to Europe? What's going to happen to Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia? They will all have an aged population. The workforce of the world is being built over here in India today as we speak for the period 2030 to 2050. Okay, so that's one part of the story, which is the demographic dividend of India. The other thing is that, if you look at India, what is happening in education, and that's very important. We cannot assume to be a global leader without education. If you look at the workforce population issues of India, there is something called GER. That's the gross enrollment ratio into higher education, into universities. And that is 26%. Compare that to China. China is at 60%. The US is at 80%. With a 26% workforce that is educated in universities, we have a serious disadvantage, right? So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is about empowerment and women's education. Currently, only 24% of the ratio between men and women in higher education is 20%. Hopefully that is improving. Hopefully that will improve by 2030, 2050. But that means that there is onus on us as educators. It's an onus on, some of the panelists here as, HR, senior leaders in HR to drive higher education in the families of their employees, because that is what will build the future. So the third challenge is a need for a more educated workforce. And this is actually a research done on international mobility. And this research basically says that the expected level of education, if you're talking about a globally competitive workforce, is undergrad or postgrad at least. So if you want India's population to be the global workforce, it is also very important that our workforce are at least undergraduates or postgraduates. Yeah, because 50% of the jobs that are expected to be in the world are to those who are literate. So, takeaway number one, whenever we get somebody to study, whenever we get somebody into education, we are enabling the world, we are enabling the nation's competitiveness. So that's point number one. Every time, for example, at online, we have around 6,000 students, and I look at 3,000 of them are first-time learners, right? So I'm very happy to have these 3,000 with us. I'm also very happy to have the balance 2,000 actually, who are doing their MBAs and higher ed, and we're giving global competitiveness to them. But 3,000 of them are first-time learners in their family, means it's making a difference to the future of India. So that's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two is, what's in it for me? You remove this. Forward. Okay, keep moving. So there is a survey by Carlton, 2011. He says, let's look at the key drivers of employee engagement. And those of us in human resources know what employee engagement is. Strangely, training and education ranked almost at par with job satisfaction and fair pay, right? And that's what he said, why don't we enable training and education for our employees? It has longer term effect. Fair pay or pay is very difficult to do. Job satisfaction is very difficult to come about. It's linked to your boss, it's linked to a lot of other things, hygiene factors, other factors. Training and education, if you can motivate your individual, if you can show them a path, it leads to long-term employee engagement. And specifically, here's another research very recently done, which says it actually decreases employee attrition and it improves employee engagement, right? So I think that's the crux of what I was trying to say, is that if we can encourage employees into lifelong education, if we can encourage the wards of employees into lifelong education, then we do two things. We enable the nation's competitiveness, and we enable our entities, our organizations' competitiveness as well. So essentially, that's my 2 minutes of thought, is that I believe the future of India is about lifelong education, right? I passionately believe about that. I believe maybe there is a price sensitiveness, there are quality issues which we need to address, right? I also believe, and that is where I bring AI very briefly, I believe artificial intelligence and the merger of human competence with technology is the answer to that. So that's all I have. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashish, sir, for enlightening us. As sir told that the window of India's demographic dividend is closing, and we need to take advantage of this window. And this can only be done by skilling and training our workforces. Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening with your valuable insights. So let us start with the first panel of our HR conclave. And the discussions would be broadly centered on the future of work, AI, and human collaboration. So as we stand on the brink of fourth industrial revolution, the integration of artificial intelligence is transforming our workplaces. So please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists with a huge round of applause. First, we have Ashisha Bhatia, Assistant Vice President, Corporate L&D at Tata AIA. Next, we welcome Vasudha Mahajan, Senior General Manager of Human Resources at Aerial Telecom Solutions. Joining us as well is Vikram Sharma, Vice President of Human Resources at Strides Pharma. This panel would be moderated by Mr. Munish Sehrawat. He is the President and Dean of Faculty of Management Sciences at Shulini University. So each of these panelists bring a unique perspective on the intersection of AI and human resources, and we are excited to hear their valuable insights. So as in the words of Julius Caesar, let's the game begin.
Morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our esteemed guests again. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good ride to the campus. So, as we get into this discussion, I think AI has written its first novel. AI has made its first movie. AI has written research papers. AI is teaching. That's the background, against which we have this conversation. So, we want to talk about future of work. So if we look in terms of human history, and if you look at each disruptive transformation, when the automobiles came in, when the personal computers came in, when e-commerce came in, we all went through a cycle of fear psychosis to progressive adaptation. Now, when we look at AI, what is your view in terms of how human beings are going to collaborate? What is going to be the future of work? Will we coexist with machines and code? Or there'll be a lot of jobs which will become redundant, but equally there'll be new jobs which will come, right? So would like to have your opinion. Yeah, we could start. This is for each of.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you first. Thank you to the management for calling us here. What I believe, what we need to understand is AI is not an entity. Probably it is a tool that is predefined with certain parameters and contexts which are set by humans. So future of work, actually it is a dynamic thing, which is followed by economic factors, social changes, all those things. Future of work lies in the synergy between human competency, creativity, and AI efficiency. So when we talk about the collaboration of AI and humans, we need to understand one thing, that AI is not going to replace humans. Obviously, it is going to enhance them. It is going to place them in a better place. At the same time, obviously, what rightly said by you, there are certain monotonous jobs which obviously are going to get redundant. For that matter, humans need to put more focus on strategic initiatives. Probably we can look for humans on high activity jobs wherein their judgment and their creativity is required. At the same time, you rightly said that there are certain trends which are changing in human resources as far as our industry goes. So certain things like hybrid model, remote working, diversity and more of analytical driven decisions, automation. All these trends, actually show flexible, human technology driven, more of a creative work culture, development of creative work culture. At the same time, we need to understand that AI can never be synonym to job, role replacement. Probably it has to be taken as augmenting human capabilities and streamline processes. This is probably my thought.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll, add to the context that you've set for AI and sources. First, I think we all need to correct ourselves that it's not AI and future of work, but it's actually present and it's not. So we are already there. AI is already there. And a lot of upskilling and reskilling is required. And I think a lot of CHROs have started to realize it, that in the next 12 to 24 months, we need to start reskilling our people. If you even go to pockets of various cities in our country, many people are still not even aware of AI. So, you need to actually start with building that awareness. And with that awareness, also bringing that understanding that it's a tool and it's an application that's going to help and not, take away people's jobs. AI is basically based on data and data that's been collected. So that, decision making that AI does is based on data that's already there. And there was a very wonderful study that I just saw a few days back. I think an AI tool was asked to recreate a Barbie model from different countries. And they created the skin color of the Barbie based on certain color biases that we already have. So Barbies from Asia were dark skinned and Barbies from Europe were fair skinned. So there's also a lot of bias that's already there in the data that we have. And that's where humans will be playing a very important role to remove that bias from the data. So humans will always be required. It's just that the kind of jobs that we've been doing will be redefined. And AI has also created a lot of new jobs already. If you look at the amount of data scientists that have been recently, recruited and jobs that have been created, I think 75 million jobs have already been created due to AI. So it's going to work hand in hand, for sure.
Good morning, everyone. My views on the query post is as follows. So as we sit and deliberate on this subject, especially my friends, the students there, it's very important to know that we are already in Industry 5.0 and not Industry 4.0 that she said. Right now, it's not about semantics of which industry, but right from the locomotives to steam engine to the advancement of technologies, etc., that we had. So, what Industry 5.0 is very unique is about the interface of the human beings with the technology, right? So with all the data that Vasudha and Anisha said that what is AI is the basis all that big data and how the analytics works. It's very important for especially students and the HR fraternity to understand how the industry per se is gearing up to use this tool, AI as a tool, as my learned panelists have said. It's a tool. So at different stages of our evolution, different schemes of technologies have come in. Now, AI is a very, I would say, human-friendly tool, and there's no need for panic, etc. At least of the little use that we have been doing in industry, I find it as a very, very helpful tool. The future of work is actually very bright as a result of that. Now, to just give an example from an HR perspective, how this is going to mold is that the HR practitioners need to understand. Again, I'll reiterate how the industry is using, and I'll give you an example. I come from a pharmaceutical industry based out of Bangalore. So we have embarked on a very big mission or a project as I'm speaking, and McKinsey is helping us do that. And this is how we leverage digitization, in which AI gets subsumed in that, and whether it is our quality control labs where we test our finished products, the drugs that we manufacture, tablets, capsules, etc., which we humans consume. So AI is really helping to solve and do the whole process in a very systematic and easy manner for the chemists and analysts who are working in our labs. Now, as we do that, there is a lot of skilling that Ashish spoke of is required. And from a HR angle, we need to understand how we are making our employees so very future ready, so that all the employees who are embracing this technology of AI are able to have this cultural shift, right? So if you can understand, maybe later we have some time for questions and we can talk in case if what I'm speaking is not being able to understand, I can give you examples of that. And I think later I'll also give you some concrete examples how we in our industry are even leveraging AR and VR technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, in transforming our very archaic, training programs, which were really SOP based. You log into your laptop and PC systems and you go through those trainings. And we are now converting all of that. And as I speak, this is also ongoing with a very niche company who is helping us put all this. So there are wearables and you kind of envision that scenario, and you don't have to go through this whole rigmarole of undergoing those SOPs, reading and understanding or not. The real scenario of the production line or the laboratory system is created for a worker and in the native language. And that is how the AI is transforming. So the future of work for me is really, really very bright as I see it happening day in, day out. And I can assure you, for all students who will now be leveraging this much more than we did in our times, the future of work is bright and there is no need to panic. Right. Thank you.
So I would want to come back to, I think, Ashisha and Vasudha, in terms of, telecom and insurance sectors. So you spoke about pharma. So what is happening to AI adoption? One is HR, maybe your function, and the larger industry. So if you could throw a little bit of light on insurance or telecom.
Yeah, as I'll probably talk about my industry, telecom industry, because we comes under emergency services. So world has seen the transformation from handset to 2G to 3G to 4G, 5G. Now we are getting into 6Gs. We have already got ourselves ready for 6Gs. So this technology change, in any case, when it is going to come, there is a lot of reskilling, upskilling is required, which is very much important for HR personnel also, and people who are working, that there is always a shift, and this shift will bring a change in the organization. Same happened in telecom earlier. When there was 2G, people were actually bit reluctant that how 3G is going to come, what exactly it's going to be in 4G, 5G. So it is all big data. There is nothing change except the how fast you can speak to somebody. I'm sure in COVID nobody would have thought about work from home model, remote working, this video calling, getting people interviewed, selected through online model, which is happening. So there is a transformation which telecom also did. We earlier thought at the time of COVID that telecom cannot go from work from home, but when we realized that there are certain jobs, certain job specifications which can be worked on remote model, and actually it goes well. From last 2 years, I do remember that earlier we used to have interviews, in-person interviews. Yeah, currently also we are having those in-person interviews, but there is a lot of shift which has happened from mindset point of view also, from cultural aspect also, wherein we have got in line with what exactly we call it as AI, because it is AI only. And as far as, with AI coming in, there are certain jobs which are going to be specialized, more specific. Individuals are required to put more, focus on how to leverage AI efficiency. Those who are going to embrace AI as a tool, obviously, and upskill them for their betterment, competency, expert, they are going to get leverage out of that. Another important thing that we understood from AI is how exactly it has been integrated in the workforce. And for that matter, obviously, it is combination of actually machine and humans. So that trust, flexibility, transparency, ethical, AI, and deploying AI responsibly plays an important role. Telecom, obviously, I'll probably talk about telecom because I've been into telecom from last 9 years, 10 years. So, as an industry, we are very open as far as communication goes, communicating to the employees, to our peers, to, open house communications are there. And we are very experimental. So obviously for us, it is a success.
Thank you, sir. Ashisha, in terms of insurance industry.
Yeah. So, there is a lot happening in the insurance industry as well, especially when we talk from the point of servicing the customer. But over here, I'll talk more from the HR point of view. And since I look after learning and development, the way I vision, what's going to happen in L&D space and especially in insurance is this sector faces a lot of challenge in recruitment and retention of employees. And to curb attrition, I think, AI can really help a lot, because most of the attrition in insurance industry happens in the first 6 months. People are, spread across the country, so it becomes very difficult for even their managers to, really speak to them on a regular basis and know what's happening on the ground. That's where I think AI can help in creating customized learning plans for them, which AI is already doing. So till now, we've been having learning plans which, are like an umbrella learning plan catering to everybody, irrespective of the individual's need. So that's where AI can play a very crucial role by giving the right information at the right time. Also keeping in mind the kind of learner needs. So, AI is very good at doing that. So that's one area where I think AI is going to play a very important role. And then definitely also in recruitment. So these are two areas that I think one should really look out to, because there's a lot of, immense development that can happen over here.
Thanks, Ash. Specifically for, I think, the insurance, we teach, we've got MBA kids, and we keep on examining business models and all. And what I see very interesting happening in insurance, and where AI can even make it better, is there are companies which are linking your health parameters to your insurance amount, right? And we spoke about
Yeah.
variables, right?
That's already
So that's
there, yeah.
happening. But that's still happening. I think there is submission of data which is going on. I would assume, you have a variable and you have all my data, and when I'm talking to you, say this is your premium, and my premium is better than yours. So we both become very conscious about our health, So I think AI is just on the cusp of doing that kind of.
So that's already been implemented.
Is it extracting data and linking it?
Yes. So yes.
Element of getting that data and calculating premium.
Yes. So the more healthy and the fitter you are, your premium rates go down. So you have a variable that keeps a track of all these health parameters.
That's exciting. There's an incentive. So here's an example of how AI can make life better. So we are in a university setting, and Ashish spoke about the age dividend. We are very young people, right? There's another thing, at the workplace, there are a lot of generations at play, right? X, Y, Z, even in the classroom, there is this thing about Gen Z not being understood, right? And if you start looking at AI, what do they want? How can we use AI to understand their requirements and to make things better? I would take an example. Even today, when you do a voice of employee survey, if you take a company, you get data. If you look at the entire period from data collection to getting insights and then acting on it, it is a lengthy process. I know that. I also worked in HR. I would believe AI should, every day I should have insights about what's happening, what's the pulse of my workforce. And as we were speaking about that, life is going to become easier as HR leaders. One should be acting on it rather than going through the grind of getting the data, understanding it, framing questions, and all of that. And why have an external company? Why can't AI just for your workforce do that? So, how can we use AI to understand Gen Z and to cater to the requirement? Because the future lies there, right?
Okay, I'll go.
I hope you also understand.
Yeah, we understand. There are 2 points to it. First of all, I beg to differ that whether we need to understand Gen Z or, or through the medium of AI, or rather it's Gen Z who can help us learn better about the adoption of AI, because these guys are products of the modern scientific age, and we deal with all the cadre hires, day in, day out, and the way they are so comfortable with technology, with the use of modern tools, etc. I learned day in, day out from the very young 20-something recruits from the engineering colleges and the management institutes. So I don't know if with the use of AI, we need to understand there. Yes, but they are very different. They're very demanding. There are certain, very specific aptitudes and attitudes of the Gen Z, which at least the Zen X and Zen Y needs to understand. That's one. But to the other point, that I wanted to allude, which you also mentioned, is how in HR, like for example, it's here and now. I'll give you a very concrete example. Most of the HR folks in this room would bear with me that just a couple of years back and even now, there is this big international company called Gallup. Gallup is into all the employee surveys and all. And if we engage Gallup for an employee engagement survey, it used to be almost a year-long exercise. पहले तो data ठीक कीजिए, फिर then they will have certain cohorts, then they run the Q12 questions and some customized questions. By the time they give the analysis and then you do the action plans, it's a very, very big 6 to 9 months journey, right? And this used to happen, it was de-rigor. Then comes this company called Infido with their tool called Amber, right? Oh, har roz subah morning, they give this pulse of the employee. Are you happy? Are your mood good or bad? And this, and plus some other questions you can either customize also. Lot of companies are having subscription to the Amber tool. And the inputs of the Amber ideally should go and are going to the CHRO. So the CHRO daily in the morning gets a feed how an employee sitting in a remote corner or a far off, location in a factory is feeling about the work. So no point of the, very, very authenticated researched data of Gallup. Do I have the tools and equipment to do my work? Am I getting rewarded for my work? And is my job understood? Is my manager having feedback? Very nice researched questions, Q12, very famous. But here comes Infido, which changes the whole rule of the game. So, late evening, my boss, the global CHRO, would call me that, in so-and-so factory in Chennai, by the way, I come from Bangalore, that particular worker feels that when he was stopped by security for not wearing the uniform, he says that if my seniors, the head of quality assurance, the head of manufacturing is coming in a t-shirt and jeans, why should I do that? Immediately response, and I call up those two gentlemen. I said that, you better from Monday to Friday come in uniform because others are not, and they are stopped. And because of your aura, you are not being stopped by the security. So, that is how the whole transition of AI is happening. And by the way, AI, for those who, feel still that this is a mystery, it's not. Yesterday in the Times of India edition, front page pe HP ka ad tha. New HP laptop with AI. Right? Microsoft Copilot with AI. Now, AI is basically this whole big data and then the whole algorithms and the codes which these coders are doing and helping us analyze that data. Not much. It's all how we are leveraging the machine learning and putting it to good use. So this through the Gallup and the Amber, I wanted to just allude to your point that for a very important element of employee engagement, how the rules of the game are changing. If you could add on other elements.
I just want to add to that, Ashish. Sometimes that Amber actually got, with that HRO, CHRO also got confused as in what exactly it's happening, because someday that person says, I am happy because of XYZ reasons. Another day he says, I am not happy because of the same XYZ reasons. Sometimes it get confused. So you need to understand as in what exactly the mindset of that person. So from there, actually, we got into the fields, where exactly the last man is working. That is there any problem which is happening? Because someday that person is happy with the certain questions. Another day, that person is not happy with the certain questions. And about to answer your query about what exactly Gen Z, what I understood, because I've been meeting them for interviewing them, they are looking, they wanted to upgrade themselves. They wanted that every day they should learn something, and they wanted to learn it very fast. It's not like this is done, this project is done, what next? So one of the most important thing and the best thing in them is learning, that inclination towards learning and learning new things, expertise, skills is there. But at the same time, they need to understand that learning, whatever they have learned has to be inculcated in that, in real time basis, which is probably missing sometimes. So there is a very thin line between what exactly you are learning and how you are inculcating that learning to your real time projects.
Yeah. I think even, I would want to know the mood of the class. If you're teaching, that's an interesting insight for a professor, right? That's one. Again, everybody doesn't have AMBER, there's faster technology, but, having your analytics ready at the right time matters quite a lot. What is the class mark distribution? Not wait for, 45 days, 60 days, but as you do, how you're shaping up. So I think AI absolutely is going to make life easier, and as all of us are saying, that it's the insights on which humans are going to work and coexist with the codes in the machine. While it's a happy note, we're all absolutely kicked up about the AI. We also see, there is another house which is actually showing the dangerous elements of AI. So there are deepfakes coming, right? You're seeing what's happening with deepfakes. There are frauds happening. There are election manipulations happening with technology and AI is doing things. So there's this entire thing about regulating AI. Now, in terms of your workforce and where you work, are you seeing the need for drafting some policies, some regulation, around AI? Because different organizations are at different stages of evolution, right? So maybe, pharma is an early adopter, but there could be another industry which is not, and they are already playing around with AI. So what are your views on AI ethics, regulation, policies, and as the HR leaders, have you started having those conversations, or you believe that will start happening in the next 2 or 3 years? Like I remember 10, 12 years back when social media became big, a lot of companies didn't have a social media policy. So you didn't know, can you actually give some information? So we had in banking, we had RMs giving personal information on WhatsApp. Till somebody reminded them, this is not what you can do, So then there was this need about where's the social media policy? Different people driving different elements of social media policy till I think now organizations have a social media policy. Any one of you
Yeah.
wants to?
So I like to answer that. I think it's, at a nascent stage right now. I think organizations are just about creating the awareness, whether you talk about leadership or you talk about the workforce. And people have not really thought about, working on a policy and, the ethics and the regulatory bit. But yes, it's a very important point that organizations should start thinking about. And as I said earlier, if we are planning to skill our workforce in the next 12 to 24 months, then this is something definitely should also be in place.
Well, management development program of surely on your own. That should be the next conference.
All right.
What's happening with Airtel? It's not
See,
very.
it's aerial telecom, it's not aerial. So yeah, we have not started developing that policy yet, but yes, it is in our to-do list because that is very much required, because from there we got to know what all do's, don'ts, what is the line between not to do, what to do. So that has already started, it's not in place, but it is there, that in to-do list. At the same time, for, ethics, AI ethics, there are certain things which we need to keep in mind. See, the moment we actually, got some AI into organization, be it as, normal, administrative tools, all those onboarding tools, recruitment tools, talent acquisition tools, or predictive analytic tools. So there are certain follow-ups, feedbacks, open forums are happening, but not in the structured way, wherein, their rules and compliances are drawn, their boundaries are drawn, and yes, it is in pipeline. Obviously, with coming time, we are going to do that.
Yeah, I think, Manish, your question is quite futuristic. And for my little understanding of AI and its misuse, as we are seeing in some of the deep fakes, etc., frauds, you're getting a phone line that this is so and so, and you need to, press this button, etc., etc. Now that's the flip side of any technology, and that's bound to happen, these kind of things. But of my little understanding, this is still confined to the study of academics, but in the real industry, not just pharma, but I have been to other forums as well. I have not seen any SOP, and that's what my other panelists are also suggesting. At least in our place also, we have not yet formalized any policy or any SOP. However, the IT function, IT department does send updates. Say, for example, how to be very conscious of the phishing emails, etc. Or, for example, if there is a certain cyberware or attack, etc., not to press that. So, of course, the cybersecurity is a different realm altogether. But right now, from a policy perspective, I think industry, I would love to hear if somebody else has any different views and we can get enlightened. But we have not yet formulated any formal policy or SOP for the employees on AI ethics and that against the deep fakes out to I have not come across. Yeah. But that's a very important question. Yeah, I mean, I think he has a point. Yeah, good.
Far behind. First of all, we have to bring this GDPR thing. That GDPR has not been implemented in India. That's the first thing. And if you see the adaptation in Europe, they have already brought one law related to GenAI. And there are certain ethical practices which has to be followed in Europe. So of course we are far behind. I think first step is to bring GDPR, something related to regulations related to GDPR, and then probably AI, and it has to be done at a government level, and then probably industries can adapt it. That's what my 2 cents are.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you just give the mic because at a government, regulatory framework level, also just like we had the IT Act 2000, which there must have been some precursors in the advanced nations. So very right. Thank you. We loved it.
So, very recently was that some of the organizations which have started using AI in HR, use the tools to gauge the morale, commitment, etc. And I'm going back to the example you shared, that sometimes, the same thing tells you that this person was happy because of this ABC things, but another day it again says he's not happy because of these ABC things. Now, what is the real outcome? Now, AI is something you actually program, you have your algorithms, etc., that you work on. And what is starting to happen in some companies, they are starting to come up with policies around this algorithm itself. So they will have to be reviewing these algorithms periodically based on their experience. That's another HR-driven policy, which is I think it's just starting to see the light of the day. But I guess it'll happen more and more in the future.
Right, exactly. That's what we say. It's very futuristic, but very academic right now. But also the inputs coming. I think we also have another person.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Lal Singh. I'm Chairman of Institute of Engineers at Delhi. I'm at the telecom. So I just that was being discussed like about the ethics and all. So we have to take care of the employees' data. The privacy of the data is very important. That we have to take care, and unless we do that, all the challenges of cybersecurity they have to be brought in. And that it may be even the recording of the employee or maybe a patient or maybe an insurance customer. We have to put it on the blockchain. Then only we can be sure that there is no misuse of that, and ethics part is also taken. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we'll take a couple of questions more from the audience, especially from some students. You can even ask for a job. Okay? That's allowed, right?
Just to add, sorry, we have a DPGP, Data Protection, Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 23, which has been governing this whole activity as of now. And that is something which also involves around AI and the use of data in that scenario.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My question is, after 1 or 2 years, I'm coming to you and asking for a job. You will be expecting me as a human being or human being with a AI tool experience.
So I think in terms of competencies, do you see AI becoming an essential competency for getting a job now?
Question is, I am sitting for an interview and you are interviewing me, and I'm sitting in front of you with AI tool with me. I should be allowed AI tool or not? That's my question.
Oh, okay.
During the interview, is that your question?
So he wants to give an interview along with the machine.
You want AI to answer the questions that we ask.
Yeah.
What you said is that AI is not giving the answer. It is generating depending on what input I have given. What prompt I have given, it is generating answers on that. It is not doing itself that someone has asked the question and I have to do things for the interview.
So if you are applying,
I have given input, it is not giving my answers.
so if you have applied for a role which requires you to be an expert with prompts, then probably yes. But otherwise, I think no.
For me, it's going to be a big no because I look for your judgment, your creativity rather than something which is AI driven.
That's what I want to say. You said my creativity. My creativity is used AI tool in creative manner. I may not be a perfect person to do it manually, but I am a perfect person to do it with AI tool.
That
So why
probably
not
will.
we are not aligned?
Maybe you don't need to come for the interview. The AI tool will give you an interview, right? Then they'll accept you. Your avatar or something like that.
What I am saying, the question is harnessing the power of AI for HR. If you are not empowering the power of AI, so what does that mean? That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
So I like to answer this. See, it depends on the role that you're applying for. As we spoke about, AI is not going to completely replace a job, right? There will always be softer aspects, softer competencies that you would require to do a particular role. So I think your question is very specific for the kind of role and the kind of competencies that one needs to do that role. But yes, probably if the role demands that the person only needs to be an expert at using AI tools, I think yes, that could be the future.
So since I come from recruitment background, I was prompting to answer. And thank you, Asisha. I think she has specifically told about it. It depends on the role. And it's happening today. You know, we have, you must have heard about Hacker platform, right? Right? So we hire a Java developer and we ask them to do a coding on Hacker platform. And we ask them to use simulator, Google पे जाओ check करो, whatever you can do. We want to see the brain behind that individual, right? We have designed our test and system in such a smart way, which can easily give you that, I would say, flexibility to use some external tools as well. Right? You will use it, but it all depends on the role. If I'm hiring an HR professional, so I don't want to use their, interview mechanism along with an AI tool. It all depends for which role. I think what she has said correctly. So yes, the future is always going to give you an opportunity to use AI intelligently. Remember this word, intelligently. And that's what in HR fraternity also, we are using AI very, very intelligently. Otherwise, a lot of biasness, a lot of, I think he was talking about in the beginning, a lot of, negative things can come in. And too much dependency on AI can also drain your human intelligence. Right? That's what my wishes and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Arvind Sharma from CS department. My question is to industry. You really think AI is existent? Reason behind is everything which is going on in the market is only data dependent. Mean if you can say big data with machine learning is fine. If I'm saying AI, it's not fine. Reason is cognition is missing. Without cognition, nothing is AI. So why we are using this term AI in market from so long if there is no cognition at all in the applications, in the solutions?
again, your question is very right. I don't know how the word AI got coined, but basically you're right that cognition actually per se may not be there, but when, with the learning and algorithms which make use of the big data, right? And that is where it uses this data intelligently to give you the output. And that is where the word intelligence would have come. And since it's not a human brain at work, and it is the machine coding and learning from the huge data which is there, and that is the word artificial. If I was to dissect the semantics of how artificial intelligence, the two word, phrase artificial intelligence come, but very, very nice question. Yes, cognition per se may not be there, but then this is how I understood artificial intelligence.
BCI. We have very less number of people who are working in that domain, BCI. So if we club this BCI with machine learning and multi-sensory, only then we can say AI is possible in the market. Else it is not possible.
Right, right.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun. So I think I'm cognizant of time. We need to wrap up to allow the other panelists to come on stage. So just in summary, I think we all know AI has arrived. We all seem to be happy about it because of the efficiency it brings in. We need to be cautious of few things, just like all of you spoke about. There are after effects of new technologies and new paradigms that emerge out of them. So we need to be cognizant about them. And I think we believe there are all methods and ways in which we'll address them. And I think there could be more surprises, because if you look at it, what we're talking about, this has all happened in last 2 or 3 years. It's been so rapid. And if you look at OpenAI and all the big companies, so in next 5 years, the acceleration that will come in, that might throw in some surprises. And I think as human beings, we've always adopted to things. So we will take it in our stride, but it could be an interesting future. It's good times to live in. Yeah.
And my friend, in case if today, tomorrow breakout session, we could help you see which interview you could bring your AI tool and which not. I mean, I'm really eager to have a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, I must say I've taken a lot of learnings today. The way you answered and discussed. Excuse me, sir. Please, I would request you to please come on stage. And I would also request and invite our Chancellor, sir, to come on stage and felicitate our panelists. Thank you, Chancellor, sir. Thank you, everybody, for giving us answers and discussions about the future of artificial intelligence. And I really can't wait for the other panelists to come. So we now transition to panel 2 of our HR conclave, and they will be discussing on the employee experience revolution, how to empower and retain your workforces. So in today's competitive business environment, creating a positive employee experience is critical for attracting, retaining, and empowering top talent. So our distinguished panelists will discuss innovative strategies, best practices for enhancing employee experience, fostering engagement, and building a resilient and motivated workforce. So please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists. First, we have Nikhil Malla, Chief Human Resource Officer at Sahyog Multi-State Cooperative Limited. So next, we welcome Jitendra Panihar, Chief Human Resource Officer at Fitello. And finally, we have Ricky Regmi, Head of Human Resources at Bharti Airtel Foundation. Also, we have Harshit Malvia, Head of Human Resources at Sateen Credit Care Network Limited. And this panel would be moderated by Mr. Pradeep Sharma. He's the professor at Faculty of Management Sciences at Shulini University. Over to you, Pradeep, sir.
Really nice to have all of you here. So the topic of our discussion today is on employee experience. Before we just start talking on that, let me very quickly give a context of this whole thing, the way I have seen it evolve over the years. I've also been a practicing HR guy for over 35 years. And earlier, this whole thing about employees, it was all about what their roles are. Started with some providing role clarities, goals, etc. Then came in the concept of team working, importance of teams, etc. Started coming in. As things evolved, then came the concept of MBO, management by objectives, etc. We remember the famous 10-25 theory of GE, etc. All of that evolved. And of course, all of this was in the context of importance of cost, of human capital to any organization, etc. So all that. Companies started realizing the importance of people in organization. And I'm talking about, this has happened over the last 3-4 decades mainly. And there's a realization that it's important that people work in a better way, in an engaged manner, they're satisfied, happy about their work, all that happened. And since there was this realization of employees, happiness, engagement, etc., then came in that framework of feedbacks, etc. So we started having these employee opinion surveys. We had some examples of that in the last panel discussion, etc. as well. So that started happening. And with that came about the realization of importance of understanding aspirations of people, how they can contribute, etc., etc. So all of that evolved over a period of time, and what people expected. Things like some level of flexibility started coming in, some level of empowerment started coming in. I mean, I see one of the things I see as one of the first steps in terms of real empowerment was the flexible compensation plans when they started coming in. There's some level of empowerment that started coming in with that as well. And if you look at the recent past, I think one of the big changes was the COVID times. COVID brought about a big change. So while flexible working arrangements, etc., had just started to be discussed in a nascent state, but COVID really, in a way, forced it to become real, and all that's happened. And now, of course, technology is driving a lot of that, and technology is enabling that. And now AI is enabling organizations to help in terms of, you know, enhancing that employee experience, enhancing employee engagement, etc. So that's happening. So I'm going to start our panel discussion with a question to all of you that, you know, in this whole paradigm of change, and of course, in the new times, we also, in the previous discussion, we also spoke briefly about Generation Y, their aspirations, etc. And you come from diverse backgrounds. So what do you see are the latest trends, and what do you see are the challenges in the current times vis-a-vis, you know, enhancement of employees' experience, employee engagement in organizations?
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you, sir. So I think specific to this question, wherein we want to understand what are the challenges and the nuances of AI getting into it. I believe in all the eras, we talk about any Gen Z or any millennials, the most important aspect of employee retention is employee experience. And how exactly you basically treat an employee, is he going to stay back with the organization? See, pay and other things will matter, and it will be there during the PMS time. And if you treat the employee with transparency, you give them all the aspect why they are being rated or why they are being remunerated in that way. I think that communication gap, if filled properly, there's a lot we can achieve with that. And as an AI, how it can basically facilitate it further is you have data points to capture employee experiences, like the previous panel did discuss about Amber, which talks about how's the sentiment of an employee is, and it may vary from day to day. And if we are able to arrest that, and we are able to come to a conclusion, okay, this is how I need to evolve as an organization as well. I cannot be having a policy framework or an R&R framework which is defined for a certain time. I have to evolve as an organization. I think that is one challenge where organization, what they do is they form a policy process, or they feel okay, this is a right fit for me during this phase. But if we don't evolve over a period of time as an organization as well, that is where we fail.
Correct.
The second important thing, what I see as a challenge with this overall ecosystem, is the data. The data what we capture is not uniform, and it may be misguiding us. Like, for instance, we cater and we understand, okay, employee experience, if I treat my employee well, I pay well, they may be retained. But there are many other aspects. There's how the manager is treating him. I may have best of best policies in place, but in the remote branch where I have an employee, if he's not been treated well, and there is no two-way communication where he can vent out,
Correct.
that becomes a challenge in today's structure. There are tools which basically facilitate that kind of communication two-way. And if we act on that, I'm sure this is surely going to be a boom for us in terms of harnessing the power of AI. Most important aspect for us on the banking side and on the financial institution is the infant attrition. The first people leave in the initial 6 months. That is because they don't know ki karna kya hai. We define KRA, KPIs. KKH has been term which we have coined. Ki bhai, tumko aake karna kya hai? Once you give that clarity, I think lot of confusions and the infant attrition can be curbed to a large extent. I think these are the challenges and opportunities which are there with us.
So I just wanted to take you back to two more generations. So let us first understand what is this employee experience revolution is all about. So my grandfather faced the industrial revolution phase, wherein he fought for roti, kapda, and makan. That was first revolution. He had a boss, or the culture of the company was abusive. He used to bear everything just to create that roti, kapda, makan for the family. The second revolution, which was my father's revolution, it was an information revolution, wherein we got technologically updated, where my father has nothing to do with roti, kapda, makan. He focused on the standard of living, right? So he gave us that house, that fridge, that AC, that car, that all leverages that we want. But now the story is entirely different. So there is this buzzword called work-life balance. And it became really a buzzword after 2010. So this was the third revolution that I want to talk about. It has nothing to do with roti kapda makan. It has nothing to do with standard of living. It has all to do with quality of life. Point number one. So now coming to the question, how can you reform or make your employee experience better is drive the profit that stakeholders want, but create the culture that people want. Number one. So if you see the trend of the organizations have changed from profit-driven, they are now people-driven organizations. That is the cultural shift. Even in the employee value propositions of the organizations are talking now more about growth is a way of life, empowering the employees, and where people matter. Because out of all the resources in this world, in any sector, in any organization, man, money, machine, material, and time, there are only 5 resources. Human is the most important resource, right? So we have to create that culture. Sir, simple hai. COVID aaya, chala gaya. We became technologically advanced. We started this concept of MS Teams, meeting, virtual. But since we are in this country, आज भी कुछ चीजें Gmail पे नहीं, Gmail पे होती हैं, जैसे शादियां. Similarly, it is about the people connect. I'll give you an example of my organization. We are an Indian organization. We display and depict the culture and heritage of the country. So when we talk about empowering women or creating the diversified experience and culture for the female employees, so we started the menstruation leave policy for the employees, female employees, giving them 1 day extra sick leave every month to give them that experience that we care for you. And that is an intangible experience which you can only create when you understand what people want out of you.
Correct.
Right? So this is how I think, of course, digitization, synergy, simplicity is important. But if you want to enhance that human experience, that employee experience, and let's not talk about retention at all. Let me tell you. There is nothing called stress management. There is nothing called retention. Let me tell you. Why? Stress management kya hai? You manage valuable things in life. Gold, family, your companies, profits. Stress is not valuable. So don't manage stress, number one. Give them that culture, that stress-free culture. You need not to talk about retention then. And I think that is something that we as an organization is following.
Great. So, good morning, everyone. I will still stay with those basic tenets of, employee engagement, which drives actually the experience. While technology generations, we would be using various tools, techniques, the new theories, principles, but basic fundamental for any employee for that matter in any organization is what is there for me, right? So do I get associated with the company vision and mission? If I'm not able to connect with that, then I'm not a part of this organization, right? That's the starting point, right? And that's why, if I have to create any value proposition for employee, for me, I always strive on, striking that chord of, how are you contributing to the organization's success? Is my organization mission and visions connected to your deliverables? If we are able to create that path, I think it's pretty easy thereafter.
So it has to be a win-win for both the sides.
Yes.
Absolutely agree.
Yes. And keep a hygiene part like pay, parity, etc., etc. These are pretty much hygiene nowadays, right? So if you are able to create that value proposition of emotional connect, which I say, right, then you are home, right? And then I think that's the starting point for me.
I'll just try and take a step back and completely agree with all three of you. But I think employee experience, the way I look at it, has to be looked at it from the context of an organization. Because you rightly mentioned that while, we are serving two purposes. One is a larger holistic purpose or the culture. And there is another purpose which is still very important, which is the profit, the stakeholders. So ultimately, the kind of experiences that you design in an organization and how you create and craft those strategies around employee experiences is determined by your philosophy and context. The way I look at this is, I think it's a function of a classical use case that you determine. For example, for an organization which is, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 plus, spread across 25 plus cities in India, people speaking more than 20 plus languages, is a very, very different use case where employee experience means something else.
Yes, absolutely.
That's number one. Now, the use case predominantly in this case is maybe consistency, communication, and the second aspect or the use case is about culture, right? You want to build a homogeneous culture. You want to ensure that there is empowerment and there is respect from all strata of people who are part of the organization. Now, if we look at these two use cases, you have to solve for consistency in communication and you have to solve for culture. Now, putting AI back in, how you look at employee experience, that's where the game becomes interesting. Now, if you have to talk to these people, you have to reach out to those people, who are spread everywhere. And I'm not talking about international complexity right now. This is just about India. How do you reach out to them? How do you collect data? How do you speak to them? What do you understand from them? And that is where AI becomes interesting. And I think somewhere, personally, I feel that, AI is the most used, abused word right now. And while we were speaking about it, I went back to 2018. 2018, I was in a conversation at Amity, and we were still talking about AI. And it is around 6 years hence. So I think it is all about solving classical use case for an organization. We talk about providing consistency in delivery, and that is where you deploy tools. There were certain names which have been taken. And I think one of the myth is AI is not, and I think doctor said it correctly, there are multiple traits or multiple functions that gets replicated. Cognitive ability is not yet replicated, and there are works going on. But still, there are a few functions which are replicated. So if you go to these organizations and you try and solve consistency, you essentially look at talking to n number of people using those tools. But these are clearly actionable insight tools. They are not artificial intelligence tools. So look at analyzing what a human can. You look at identifying patterns, etc., etc. And when it comes to culture, this is where it becomes interesting because you have to top it up to human connection. So you look at identifying data, analyzing data with a tool or with tools, and then have an HR business partner or a line manager speak to people, use that information, have that connect. Because we deployed the first aspect, we had a tool, but we are one of the organization who actually pulled out of the tool after 1.5 years, because we all started feeling that it became too mechanical. People started voicing out very clearly that, we feel like robots. Why? Because there's too much of information, data collection. People were referring to analysis sheets and coming back to us. So complete human connect was missing. So I think, again, coming back to the aspect, employee experience has to be looked at from the perspective of the use case that we are solving for an organization.
I agree with all your insights here. Yes, the people connect, that is a very important element. I mean, again, some time back I was reading about these days, you go to any of the bank apps or any of these apps, you suddenly have this AI tool, a pop-up which comes on your screen, and you ask them the question. And invariably, you ask a question, sometimes you get the same type of answers. And that's where you realize that, what you need, had there been a person, it would have been better. And I do tend to agree, maybe a bit of a old school thought, but that people connect, and particularly the HR function, and I will also add particularly the line managers, immediate supervisors, they need to be playing a very important role in terms of this. AI can surely help in supplementing and providing inputs. Right, that can help in terms of managing and getting what you need. And I completely agree with you that end of the day there has to be a balance between what the business is for. Businesses are there to make money, and then you also want to retain your workforce. You also want to have continuity. And I also agree with your comment saying that if you take care of some of the other aspects, retention will, to a large extent, happen. I am using the word to a large extent because naturally some level of attrition will always be there. And AI can help in terms of that. So let's also discuss now in terms of the other aspect, and I want to take it forward from this interesting point which Manish raised in the last thing, is particularly in the context of Generation Y today. What do you see as some of the things that you're seeing as happening, and maybe some of it is happening in your organizations, particularly catering to the newer generation, that is helping you in terms of enhancing their employee experience within your organizations?
Over a decade, I work with telecom. Now I work with Bharti Airtel Foundation, right? So I will share a couple of anecdotes from my experience. So today, when you look at today's generation, prima facie, previous panelist also spoke about this. Speed and agility is something which they really love, right? And how can you build your system, which creates that environment in terms of which propagates the speed and agility part of it. Introducing tools, techniques, right? Maybe in a form of automation, right? Which is handy to take immediate decisions, right? And how does your organization support in terms of policy draft, etc. Right? So you have a wonderful tool, but your policy do not permit. Let's say, for example, you are interfacing a customer who is an irate customer, and there is an incorrect billing which is happening over there. That's the issue. You have built all the world-class tool which will give you information, right? How did the bill was not calculated correctly. But if you haven't empowered that executive who is facing the customer to waive off that penalty, right? And that's where the rubber hits the road, as per me, right? So you have technology in one hand, the other hand you have empowered, right? The executive to take a call basis the wisdom, basis the customer situation, and what is the practical scenario, which is purely data based, right? So if all three things come together, I think that's where the magic will happen, right? Similarly, in my current role, we run schools. We run close to 160 schools. One of the biggest challenge for us is how do you ensure quality deliverables by the teachers, right? So humanly not possible, right? And I see a lot of professors, teachers in this room. My finding is that teaching is a very lonely profession. When okay, don't misunderstand me, but when I say this, because you are alone in a room in front of 20, 30 students, right? And then every day, the same situation, same setup, right? There is no variety in it, right? So you are a lone soldier, if I have to say, right? So today, how we are thinking of using, AI as a tool, which will help my teacher in that particular classroom to, enhance the quality of delivery, right? So there are two ways of doing it. One is you educate, train, right? The second is then you also design AI, which will, record your session and also tell you or predict you, okay, this is something which you could have done better, right? So as a teacher, you are not under that fear, okay, you are being observed, but you are excited that how can you improve, right? And that's where AI can play a very, very large role in my organization setup, right? And we have started thinking about this, can we make it happen, right? So I think that is all about also empowering teachers for us, right? To become better every day. And that will definitely impact the student, results, outcomes. That's one of the way how we look at it. Yeah.
So I think just to add to that, and I think the previous panel also spoke about generations, right? And your question is also about Generation Y. So I have a slightly different take on that. I fundamentally believe that there's no difference between generations. I think it is primarily based on the era in which they were born. So I think it is typically the revolution in which they were born, and hence the kind of expectations that people had in that era was slightly different. The kind of functioning that they had to go through was different, and the conditioning. And let me draw an analogy. I think we all believe the Generation Y and now the next generation, I mean, they look for instantaneous results, carefree hote hain, right? Risk takers hote hain. And we try and term the next generation with this. And I think the analogy is, let's look back the last 3 generations. And I'll take my example. My grandfather always believed my dad was very careless. He used to tell me stories of that. He always believed that, he had no ownership. He always believed कि यार आप हमारी ज़माने में होते तो आपको ये सब चीज़ें दिखाई देती. And when I was growing up, my dad felt the same for me. That I'm very careless. I don't take ownership of things. And if you look at, I mean, personally, that's something that I experienced. The last 3 generations, if I see, I believe that we feel the next generation or the following generation is either less capable of those thoughts that we used to have, or they are less responsible and have less ownership. And that's why we start terming these things around, यार हमारे ज़माने में तो ये ठीक होता था, ये हम करते थे. The following generation has these things. And that is the stereotyping I'm talking about. Fundamentally, I believe the stereotyping is typically the same. Now, the difference is, because there were different generations, and you very rightly talked about those things, right? कि पहले रोटी कपड़ा मकान होता था. उस ज़माने में their functioning used to be very different. They could not be the risk takers that we are today. Now, I come from the startup ecosystem. I left my consulting job and moved to the startup world, and everyone went crazy. क्या कर रहे हो तुम अपने career के साथ? Right. So I think fundamentally it is all about the era in which we are. So I think that is where the landscape becomes interesting. Now, coming to कि इस generation के लिए, right? When we talk about speed, when we talk about agility, when we talk about instant result, when we talk about too much of information, when we talk about access to information, employee experience and the kind of strategies or initiatives you need to define has to be in conjunction to that. Whatever you design has to solve for this. So we cannot not have, let's say, computer to them and then take them through a training program. Now that might also work, but that also needs to be carefully crafted. So we can't go back to those tools and technologies, which were there about 30 years back, and not talk about, the real life technologies that people are used to. Because there is a societal change, there is a generation change which has happened. So you have to talk about Instagram Reels with them. You can't talk about Orkut with them. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people might not have heard about Orkut, right? But it used to be social media of my times. So I think you have to be in that generation. And your initiatives and strategies will need to talk about the generational technologies as well. So we were fond of writing long emails, and I still do. But when I ask my team to deliver something, I'm sometimes amazed. They come back, in flat 5 minutes, with a very, very nice looking, beautiful email. But sometimes it clicks, right? I mean, yeah, 5 minutes में इतना अच्छा, इतना सुंदर और इतना लंबा चौड़ा email कैसे लिखा जा सकता है? With so many of jargons to us, right? They go to ChatGPT, put up prompts, and then, there's something comes out. So what I'm trying to say is, all this has to be in the context of what appeals to them and what means to them, be it about learning strategies. You have to give them AR, VR, we spoke about, right? You have to engage with them because that is what they do. Majority of them play on PS3. And that's the era in which they were born. So if you talk about taking them through a factory tour, which takes about 1.5 hours, let's say somewhere in Chennai, right? That might also appeal. But if you have to achieve scale, 200 people, you have to go to an AR VR setup and give them what they look for, clubbed with the use case. So I feel, it is all about context and it is all about their functioning and then creating strategies which solve that functioning.
Just want to add, so since you talked about the current generation and the elder generation, so it is speed, agile, and accuracy, which is along with the mixed blend of the elder experience, which together collaborates and makes the organization great or the culture of the organization great. So there is a very thin difference between, so the problem here is that since we are experienced and we are also not ready to accept that one day we are also going to be outdated if we do not go with the things that younger generation is coming up with, right? So normally hota kya sir ki we don't understand the difference between self-respect and ego because there is a very thin line, right? And there the elder generation starts failing because we believe that we know much better than you because we have spent so many X years in the system, right? On the other hand, if you talk about the younger generation, it is our responsibility and accountability to handhold them and take them back to basics. We understand that Philip Kotler might not going to help you everywhere, but Philip Kotler laid the formation of something which we are still using it today. So make the younger generation understand the relevance and importance of Bhagavad Gita, Ravan, Philip Kotler, and everything that was there. So if we take this thing hand in hand, I think the experience that we are going to talk about will automatically become the culture of the organization and it will start rotating on its own like the core of the earth rotates itself. So that's how the cultures are built. So learn, unlearn, relearn for us and make them understand the basics and importance of things, bad experiences that you have faced, because I can't learn anything from your good experience. Else I will be a copycat, right? I can only learn things from your bad experience. So be accountable and open and share with them your bad experiences so that they can learn and be better than what you are today. And that's how I think the culture of the organization can be built.
So I agree with your comment that each generation I also relate it to my children. I sometimes feel my children are very responsible, etc. And the hard fact today is that the next generation is much better equipped in terms of knowledge, etc. And then comes the other aspect that some of the things you spoke about, whether it's to do with history or how things came about, many of those things in reality don't really matter to them today. Okay, if we talk about them, I mean, I've had instances where I've had conversation with my children, and this is, "Papa, किस ज़माने की बात कर रहे हो आप? ये आज relevant नहीं है, ये बकवास है." I've heard those comments coming from them, and that is Generation Z for you today. Hard reality is, I agree with you that past experience knowledge is important, but what becomes important is how you use it in organizations, how you imbibe it, and how it can help in terms of taking your organization towards its desired, goal, profits, etc., etc. So that becomes a thing, and that's where handling Generation Y is a different ball game altogether. People are different. This young kids are different. I mean, we see it in college here, when we're teaching students here. I mean, in my times, God dare, I mean, if a teacher had given us an assignment or a task, come whatever will be done has to be done. But today, it's seen very, very differently. Sometimes they come in, "ये किस लिए? क्यों करना है ये?" Right? So those things come in. And like you also said, there will be times when we also get assignments getting submitted through use of AI today. And that becomes, as a teacher, it sometimes becomes a challenge. कि अरे ये really में सीखा है? इसने लिखा है, इसका caliber है कि नहीं है? And I'm sure some of these things are starting to happen in organizations. And I've been reading about some of these aspects, and I think technology can be a helpful tool in terms of handling some of these issues. You gave a very nice example about if you have to take someone through a center in Chennai, and if you have to do it at large scale, then artificial reality, etc., can help. And organizations have started to do that. Yes, organizations have also started using, chatbots today, particularly for inducting employees, taking them through policies, taking them through questions, okay? But then that's where the dilemma comes in. We spoke earlier about that human interface is missing. Chatbots are not always that effective. So it's a big dilemma, and I think my personal feeling is that over a period of time, technology also will provide the solutions, but somewhere it'll have to be a mix of both the human interface and technology that will come in. Like we had one of our, audience guys ask that question, can I use AI tools to answer questions in an interview? Well, these are realities that will happen. Okay, and we will have to find answers to that. And reality is tomorrow's generation, for them, it is going to be a given. For them, they will expect it to be an acceptable practice. And it's there, तो इसको क्यों नहीं use करने दिया जा रहा? हमको use करना चाहिए. But then somewhere that balance will have to be there. I know we need to be mindful of time. We will overrun. So let me just open it to the audience for any questions that you may have related with employee empowerment you would like to ask our esteemed guests here from their own experiences in their organizations. Over to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a very nice discussion. My question is concerned to this employee experience. When you think about or talk about the technology aspects, we have lots of standards available which we are following, industries following from so long. For example, there is a very renowned corporation, Nest in US, which is establishing centers on the cybersecurity. Okay? So which every industry is following. Now my question is it possible that we can establish standards concerned to employee experiences also, which every organization can follow too?
So you're talking about defining an SOP, standard operating process, for employee experience.
If it is academic, it should be different. If industry, it should be different. If government, it should be different.
I believe the most important aspect for any institution is to understand what exactly they are driving it. Just take an example from where I come. We are a part of a social enterprise. We are into banking, education, and healthcare. For us, the employee experience is he feeling valued by contributing back to the society? Now, that's what our yardstick is in terms of measuring employment, or for that instance, the engagement index, if I talk about. Because I may not be this paymaster as compared to any other institution which are paying quite well. So what we look forward for during the hiring itself is that, is this person having a purpose? If he has a purpose, so whatever he'll do at the ground, be it a healthcare initiative, be it taking banking to the rural India, he'll find peace in it. He'll find a purpose in it. So I think that's how we define engagement parameters within our ecosystem as a social enterprise. Now, depending upon an institution which is into completely different, talking about the creativity and other things, where these things hardly matter. There is a guy who may work only for 4 hours, do exceptional well videos, content, and other things. He may find satisfaction in that work. Now, that defining a standard operating process for institutions which are driving ecosystem on the social enterprise and something which is driving on how many likes or advertisement things you can pull up is two different paradigm shift. So I think there can be some nuances which can be defined. Okay, how you measure an index of satisfaction, but yes, from industry to industry, it will matter and it will differ a lot.
So let me just add to what Nikhil mentioned. I think before moving to defining SOPs, an organization first needs to define what do they mean by experience. And I think that is where it starts. And as Nikhil mentioned, that it also varies industry to industry, but I'll also top it up with nature of job. So I think there's no one answer that can an employee experience be defined for any employee across sectors, right? So it has to be based on industry and the nature of job. For example, someone who's a driller working in oil and gas exploration, the experience means very different. They work 6 months continuously in very harsh conditions, very, very different, I would say, experiences in those conditions and people who interact with them versus someone, who is a part of BPO industry. So it all comes down to what does an experience mean for an organization, and an organization will define experience based on these two aspects. The third aspect is what is the philosophy of the organization? Philosophy of the organization or philosophy of the founders or the management. What is it that you want to drive as part of the organization? Is it larger purpose as part of foundation's business or social sector, or it is completely for profit? So I think it's a combination of these three things which will determine what employee experience means. And then possibly you can try attempting employee experience standards. But I still feel that a lot of it will be subjective because we are talking about actions, human actions. You can standardize, you can make them consistent to an extent. You can't make them 100% standard.
A long question with that. In the past few decades, when you look back, in industry or in any corporation, people are more personal, more social. Now industry is getting more professional. So what limitation you found if we are getting more professional and we are not taking care about design environments, not taking care about the personal aspects and all these things, we are becoming more professional.
So, first of all, I'll not buy this point. In fact, see, there are three elements: people, planet, profit. Right. The ratio of these three elements differ from organization to organization, whether within the same sector or the different sector. Right. Now, these changes in the ratios of these elements determine the philosophy and culture of that organization automatically. Number one. Number two, we expect professional behavior, right, for the output for what you have been hired for or for the job role that you are working for. However, we believe that fungibility is one of the most important factors that nowadays organizations are promoting. Fungibility, if I define, is you work with fun or fun at work to give you that environment. That's why I said there is nothing called stress management, right? Why do you leave any employer is the question. You say better career opportunity. Sorry, sir, this is an outcome. Tell me the reason why what made you think of leaving the organization? If you want to arrest that point, which people will normally tell you after 3 months they have left because you have given them the relieving letters, that background verification is positive. So they have the strength and courage to speak. But If you want to eliminate that point while they're in the system, while you want to create that culture, so we believe that you should work professionally. However, the culture of the organization should be in such a way that you feel that you are a part of a family and you are empowered to take decisions just like the way you take decisions when you are at home. So that is the feeling that we want to inculcate, right?
And I think, to end the question differently. I think he didn't mean that, earlier people were not professional. I think you wanted to say social and less social, right? And I think one of the reason of that is because there was a lack of technology. In today's generation, I mean, you just don't look at work, you look at everywhere, your family, your friends, people sitting, on the same table, going out. They go out because they want to hang out together. If they go to a restaurant, they order, and then everyone is on phone. So the screen times have increased. Technology has come in and invaded so much that we are not being able to balance it out. Hence, people have become less social, which sometimes becomes more professional, or at least be perceived more professional in your terms. So I think that's one of the reason on a lighter note.
Your point is also equally valid. If you look at the employee life cycle, right? Previously, my dad has worked for an organization for 35 years. Right? Today, you will hardly find anyone, the moment you cross 5 years in an organization, you always get that feeling, okay, it's time for me to change. Nothing has happened. Everything is going right. But you just get influenced by your colleagues or your peer groups moving out, or they are doing different things in their life. You just get hooked to that. Okay, am I getting stuck? Right. So that that dilemma. It's like Facebook. Everybody's happy in Facebook, right? Nobody's sad, right? So you get influenced by that, right? And that is one of the reasons because of screen time, you can say, because we don't interact, there is no social interaction, there is no much deeper connect, the emotional connect is not being formed, and that might be one of the reasons. And you can see this happening.
And that also continues to be one of the challenges which organizations will also have to balance going forwards. That's a reality. Technology will end up resulting in people devoting more times to use of the technology, etc., not lesser social interactions, etc. And how do you overcome that is something which is going to be an ongoing future challenge. Great. So I think we've had a great discussion. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Just now, honorable panelists said about the people, planet, and profit. I think when we talk of sustainable development goals, they are UN empowered and promoted the goals. So we must talk of prosperity and partnerships also. Yes. Basically, there are 5 P, not P. And while talking about this particular session, like we have to be connected the employees with the customer here, the whole of the process. Unless we have a good experience of the employee, or we try to give it a good experience, then how does it reflect on the behavior, on his behavior to delight the customer? Well, then they connect. So I think somebody must have probably seen that also. Because if employees are satisfied, then will probably they work more to work for the betterment of the customer. So employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction has to go hand in hand.
Absolutely agree, sir. Absolutely agree. Yeah. I think we already overshot in terms of time. Thank you so much to all the panelists for an interesting discussion, and thank you to the audience as well. I think we'll conclude with this now and move on to the next session. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for an insightful and inspiring session. And I would request Ashish Khosla sir to please come on stage and felicitate our wonderful panelists. Thank you, Ashish sir. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists for sharing their invaluable knowledge and expertise with us today and their insights on retaining the workforce with a positive employee experience. So I hope you all are enjoying the insights and knowledge shared with us today at this remarkable conclave. So please join me in giving a huge round of applause to our wonderful panelists again. So far we have explored the transformative power of AI in human resources, retaining workforces, and now it's time to delve into another crucial aspect of organizational excellence, the human touch in leadership and coaching. To lead this enlightening session, we have with us another exceptional speaker who embodies these values, Ms. Payal Khanna. She's the IFC coach and professor at Shulni University. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Payal Khanna to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I think energy is low. Good afternoon. So thank you for the introduction. So today I'll be speaking about, and I'm actually very happy to be speaking about coaching, compassion, and leadership, workplace productivity. I think since it's an HR conclave, the final question is business outcomes. So the aim is to look at coaching and compassion as very powerful practices, tools, or interventions in driving these business outcomes. We'll be looking at a couple of methodologies, case studies, and maybe role play if the industry leaders would humor me. Will you be up for it? Yeah, so I heard a very good, strong yes from there. Thank you so much. So let's begin the session by looking at HR 10 to 15 years ago from now. So we are still at the first line, that's fine. Yeah, we'll go to the next slide. So HR functions 10 to 15 years from now, when you were just starting or new into your roles or stepping into the industry. So could you give me 5 top HR functions from that time? And I'll have my team support you quickly with pens and post-its. If you could please write 1 or 2 core HR functions from 10 to 15 years ago. Or if you want to pen down all of them, that's up to you. So I'll need my team to be a little more agile and quick. Speed matters. So 4 or 5 or 1 or 2 HR practices from 10 to 15 years ago or from the time when we were just starting into our roles. Bhattiji, would the movement around the camera be allowed? That stationary camera? So initially, I was going to ask my team to collect the post-its and put it on the whiteboard. However, I'm going to now request you, without the risk of tripping on the wires, to go and post it on the whiteboard. It'll allow us some physical activity because we have been sitting for almost more than 2 hours. So once you're done, if you could just come here. Divyanshi, I would need your support here. Thank you, Mama Shisha. Thank you. Please. So Divyanshi, you can take the post-its from the leaders. Great. You can start putting them on. Divyanshi, start pasting. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being such a big sport. They're not sticking on the board? Oh, okay. So I'm going to request Divyanshi to hand me some of them. Try and stick them on the board if you can. So I have personal and time office. All right. Recruitment. How many of you agree with that? Recruitment was one of the core functions, right? Hiring and firing, maybe. Training and development, yes. Learning and development. Industrial relations. I'm sorry, I'm not able to read this. Documentation. Yes, a lot of documentation, operations and admin. Compensation. Comp and Ben, you agree with that? Comp and Ben was, no, sir, you don't agree? That's not a function from HR then? Payroll, maybe, okay. And long-term association, loyalty, transactional activities. How many of you agree with that? HR role 15 years ago was largely transactional. Please raise your hands. Some of you raise your hands. Thank you so much. Only 2 or 3? Okay. So could we have the slide deck go on? So these are some of the practices I did put on the board, and we have them here. There are a close position. A close position would mean what? Who would that be? Who has written that? So,
Coming back to the system, I'll be talking HR back then. So probably the level of educated professionals for the right positions was very handy. Only people who were there in the city or who have the access to information.
all right, right.
So probably getting right talent to close those positions. When we got independence, we were probably 34 CR. We are 134 now.
Yeah, okay,
So
great.
around 70. So during that time, getting right people to do the right jobs was
Lovely. Thank you so much. See, others are human capital, consultants, talent acquisition. Yes. How many of you agree with that? Talent acquisition, right? We all agree. So we have recruitment, staffing, training and development, performance management, comp and ben, employee relations, and some of them more. So let's come back to the present times. And what are the HR functions now? So I'm going to pass on the post. I think we will have the mic go around. Could somebody help me with the mic, please? What are the HR functions now, if you could please share? Ma'am wants to share here.
Getting talent.
Getting talent. Talent.
Foremost is getting talent.
So talent acquisition. Yes, thank you.
I believe engaged workforce engagement.
Wonderful, sir. Employee engagement, employee well-being. Thank you so much. Could we have, okay, sir, yes. Sorry?
Learning and development.
Learning and development will continue to be a function all throughout. Yes.
In nowadays, like HR persons has to be focused into 4 areas. The first one would be the recruitment. The second one would be the employer relations and their experience. The third one would be the learning and development. And the fourth one will be the people analytics.
So HR analytics has become a new function. Yes. Yeah, okay, well, lovely. Profitability, business outcomes. I said that's the agenda for my session today also. Yes, ma'am, you want to share?
DE and I and CSR.
Absolutely, DEI. So we have, yes, sir, after that.
Business partnering role and the COE role.
Absolutely, HR business partners and the COEs, yes. Can we have the slide go on? So how many of us would have thought DEI being a core HR function or a mainline function 10 to 15 years ago? Nobody. Anyone? No one. However, it has become now a very strategic initiative, as has somebody spoke about the other functions as well, like employee engagement and well-being. I think initially it was performance management. Employee has to be there for 8 to 9 hours. And yet the productivity is low. And that's when HR started expanding its horizon and came into picture employee well-being, right? And HR business partners, though it is not there in the list, Sir mentioned, there was a time when business started moving away from HR, saying it doesn't have much impact. And then again, HR was innovative and came in HR business partners. So HR now is recruitment, staffing, L&D, HR analytics, talent management, employee engagement, compliance and risk management, HR tech and automation, and DI. Yes, sir. All right, great. I could be wrong, sir. You are the industry leaders here? Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. So since we have gone back in time 10 to 15 years, we are at the present. What do you think would be HR 10 years from now? Oh, ma'am. Pass the mic, please.
making employees happy, like generating happiness.
So happy workplaces like Shulini. Yes, thank you. So you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's more going to be a consultant role.
Consultant role, more a shift into a consultant role. Yes. All right, great.
And human capital architect kind of.
Wow, I love the word human capital architect. All right.
These with the technology infusion like
AI, we have been talking about. So AI definitely, sir.
years back there now, but now you have those softwares which trigger that on so and so date the compliance.
And take care of it. Yes. And just take care of all of it. Yes. So behind you also, sir, wants to share. Employee well-being. Do you think it's going to become a central function? Function right now also. All right. Yes. The parity has been there. Yes, equity, parity. Wonderful, sir. That's good to know. Glad. So wanted to share at the back.
10 years, I think something more may be coming to the kitty of HR. Well, it is getting more and more cross-functional kind of.
It is becoming a cross-functional department. Wow.
How to get the employees, best employees out of the market.
All right.
They have to study other sectors also, to take the best.
So all again, artificial intelligence, use of data. Yeah, okay. Sir, I'll take the last response.
I think as we evolve from here, what's going to come up is HR acting as a learning partner. We would look at what are the challenges coming up and train the employees. It's also going to be like we may also have freelancers working with us, how to engage them, retain with us rather than going to the competition. The scope is gonna be out of just being the manager and the employees to the people who are going to partner with us as a freelancers as well. The scope of HR will be on the learning, well-being, and keeping that association with the stakeholders.
So I think well-being and happiness is emerging as a top one.
I think, if you
become more strategic enough.
More strategic, yes.
ERG is another area that's coming up. And I think HR, though it's a different function, but HR will also start playing an important role. And whatever themes that come up in the next few years, HR is going to play a very important role in driving it, whether it's a business theme, whether it's a government theme, or it's a global trend that's happening. HR is going to play a role everywhere.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to take, all right, sir. So last response. Thank you.
If you look into the change just in 10 to 15 years, why HR has been made up, like to look after the human resource management and the employee management, like to make the organization profitable and all. But nowadays, like what HR has been thinking about to be more strategic, like they want to just respond and take their entire employees to be happy and impulsive response. Like we have been trying to go with the AI technologies and different sort of AI platforms. Our employees and all the organizing employees are more approachable. They don't feel any sort of like, any problems related to any policies, any sort of like reimbursement. So it can be easy to be done by the tools. According to a survey in 2009 by HR.com, like nowadays, like 79% people across the world, they think like chatbox is the good platform to get all the queries instantly. But out of only 47% of people are thinking like by till 2024, like we will adopt AI fully in our system. But out of all of the ratio, only 90% people are thinking like we have a good knowledge of AI. So this is not the right stage, like we have to more worry about like AI is coming and we have to suddenly upskill our grade and our knowledge and all. This is the time where we can just suggest to our management, our company, like we have to think about AI. This is the transformation tools in all the sectors, and HR has to play a very pivotal role to complete and change the vision missions of the company to make it profitable, a very happy organization.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think 2 points that have come from Ashisha ma'am and from you, sir, as well as, and sir, driving. HR is going to become a driving function, right? It is going to be the driver for a lot of things. So can you tell me of all the points that came up? Well-being, happiness, you said taking care, knowing, meeting individual challenges. What is at the root of all of this? What is at the root? Taking care of the employee largely, employee well-being. What is at the root? Connect. So what is at the root of the connect, sir? Humans. And you cannot connect unless you are empathy, empathetic. So you want to say something? Agile and empathetic, right? So empathy, compassion, and how do you drive compassion in a company is through coaching conversations, through a coaching culture. And I think when we have all accepted and we are all aware and we all know that this is going to be the future of HR, then it is, I think, already written that coaching and compassion will become the core function of HR. It will be the arrowhead for HR. Can we move? So anyway, that were the points that I wanted to take from all of you, going on from 13 onwards. So, all right, you've already released the slide. It's okay, that's fine. So if I completely believe, I have full conviction that coaching, compassionate coaching conversations and cultures will be the mainline function for HR. And why so? Because coaching is, compassion is going to take care of employee well-being. Employee well-being is taken care of, therefore employee retention is taken care of, attrition is taken care of, succession planning is taken care of, leadership development is taken care of, end-to-end, almost everything is taken care of. Then why not coaching? And we see this happening, we will see this happening through some case studies that I will discuss, and out of which the one most important, liked and admired by us is LinkedIn. We use this every single day. It's a trendsetter. And Jeff Weiner, he completely believes in the philosophy of Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is collaborative. And what is the mantra for Ubuntu? Teamwork, the mantra. Anyone from students also? You are, therefore I am. Common goal. You are, therefore I am. So that was the mantra for Jeff Weiner. And he was completely convinced with the idea that managing compassionately will not only help build your team, but help build the company. And we see Google and LinkedIn being disruptive and innovative and renowned for their innovative HR practices and using coaching and compassion to maintain their competitive edge. And you have the data right on the slide. There are studies that are showing that organizations with highly valued, compassionate leadership practices show 24% increase in employee engagement, 30% lower employee turnover, which directly impacts engagement and productivity. If you look at a Gallup study, the Gallup study says companies with engaged employees outperform those that aren't by 202%. I mean, this is mind-boggling. And the World Institute's 2019 retention report highlights that the top reason for attrition is lack of career opportunities. And compassionate coaching approach directly addresses this issue by offering career growth and career development opportunities. So if this is so, if the modern leaders are shifting towards a trend of compassion and empathy, and you see that this is happening a lot in the emerging startups now, right? I'm sure you will all agree with me. The new CEOs of the emerging startups at our company, and there is this sort of a likability to join the startups more by Gen Z. There has been a lot of debate and discussion around Gen Z. So why do you think they're going for these startups? Why is Gen Z going for these startups? Flexibility. Agility was a great point that was brought about by you yourself. What else? So there are 3 things that Mr. Nikhil shared with all of us. So exploration, because they're innovative, they are ready for disruption. These CEOs are ready for disruption. They're very innovative. Agility, speed, risk taking, right? So again, innovative and disruptive. So I think the three things that were shared by one of the gentlemen here was speed, agility, so accuracy. Yes, sir. I see you and I remember. Yes, thank you so much. So, where is the shift? The shift is towards empathetic organizations, compassionate organizations, because as again, it was already shared, this generation has gone beyond the physiological need in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They have gone beyond the safety needs because roti kapda makan is already taken care of. So financial rewards and monetary incentives are not going to excite Gen Z. They are looking for a very purpose and passion-driven approach. They are completely rejecting the traditional leadership, which is carrot and stick policy, right? Ma'am is smiling. So Gen Z, do you agree with us? You're all sitting here. Do you agree? Do you, what motivates you most in an organization? Is it a monetary incentive or is it a preference for aligning your work with values and self-actualization needs? What's my purpose in life? Why am I doing this? Where is it going to take me? So you're nodding your head, right? Right? So this is where the Gen Z, this shift and this focus change is, very, very important for the workforce of today, which is dominated by Gen Z, right? Yes. Yes, sir. All right. And I'm ready to agree to disagree.
Money comes at the top. Whether Gen Z, Y, baby boomers, whatever we talk about. Apart from that,
Yes.
let's keep money aside.
All right.
Apart from that, maybe compassion and all of the stuff can be a differentiator.
Yes.
So money would be a top priority. So you can't say, Gen Zs they first talk about money. And then they talk about, okay, what is the purpose? What is it in for me? All those things.
Yes, I agree with you as well. At the same time, when they have equal financial rewards coming their way, which company would they go for? Which is a differentiator? That is compassion. Thank you so much for bringing that point about. So yes, you are in line with that, right? So we are seeing this significant change that these successful companies of today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see the percentage of people who will put money on the security level has also increased. So you cannot say it stays at the same level because now people prefer the organization which are more flexible, which gives you
Agile. Yes.
all sorts of flexibility, but little less salary compared to the other traditional organizations.
And they would go for it.
Is increasing. It's still domination is on the money, but we'll see over the years the percentage will decline.
The needle movement is there. Yes. I thank you so much because that's the next point I was going to bring up with all due respect. COVID has shown us that organizations which really allowed their employees to work from home, they were preferred because it allowed so many other things, family time, less travel time, and the productivity actually increased, and there's data around it, right? So these successful organizations today are driven by what? They are not driven by best product or best services maybe, but they are driven by best people. And how do best people thrive? Best people thrive under leadership that prioritizes compassion and coaching, which again directly impacts engagement and productivity. So I'm going to request my team to move on to the next slide. This is a live poll we are going to do right now. And if you may just scan the QR code, and you will see the question pop up on your screen. So the question is, when we know that compassion is the differentiator, HR is accepting, right? We are all accepting. Empathy, compassion, and compassionate coaching conversations are the differentiator. Then what is the challenge? Why are we not able to integrate? Why are we not able to integrate these two primary practices into our functioning? Why are they not becoming strategic initiatives? Why are they not becoming mainline functions? So do you see any challenges? There's a list of challenges that has appeared for you on your mobile. You may choose one or more or all. And can we have, I hope everybody has scanned the QR code. Oh, wow. Lack of trained coaches is emerging at 5, measuring ROI. So there was a question from this gentleman, professor from Shulini, that how do you capture the impact of compassion? So how do you know how somebody is happy and how much happy they are? I mean, there is no parameter to capture. There is no barometer to capture how happy I am. Anyway, so that's measuring ROI, tech integration. So the lack of trained coaches is emerging at the top. Budget constraints. And who passes all these budgets? Who passes it? The CEOs. So where do you get the leadership buy-in, right? I think they both just go together, point number 1 and 2. Lack of leadership buy-in and budget constraints. Wow, so I still have what's coming in. Lovely. So I think the maximum votes are for lack of trained coaches. It means there are not enough internal coaches or resources in terms of human capital, in terms of people who are trained coaches, who can drive these initiatives within the organizations. The second most is budget constraints. Then is measuring the ROI. How do you know that these interventions or these practices or these functions or these strategic initiatives are actually bringing about a change? So thank you so much for this live poll. How many of you, I think all of us agree with this? But anyway, there are more votes for all the other points as well. Time constraints. So time constraints is like, there's not enough time in the office for people to undergo those coaching sessions, right? And cultural resistance. I don't want to change the way I have been working till now. The organizations resist. Then is tech integration. How do you cater to masses? It's not about 20 or 30 leaders who will undergo coaching. That was happening maybe 5 or 7 years ago. It is now being looked at, is coaching accessible to masses? My 5,000 employees or my 500 employees? So these are the challenges. So if you look at these challenges and I look at the first one, the leadership buy-in, there is this beautiful study that Google did in 2008. Anybody's aware? A powerful study in 2008 called Project Oxygen. Project Oxygen was done to understand. Yeah, we could go to the next one. Yes. So Project Oxygen was done to understand what are the key behaviors of a great manager. Why are some functions working so productively and there are great outcomes, and why some functions aren't able to replicate that? So they did this massive, they ran this massive project across the organization, and they came up with 8 key indicators of a great manager, which can drive business outcomes. And the first one was, great manager is a good coach. A great manager is a good coach. So who's a good coach? Somebody who keeps their workforce motivated. And how do you keep somebody motivated? By not micromanaging. You give them autonomy. You provide constant feedback. You create psychologically safe environments based on trust. So when I do some workshops, people ask me, what's a psychologically safe environment? So could I have some responses? Absolutely. When there is no fear of consequence in sharing what you want to share. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Psychologically safe environment. Experiment and fail, that I made a mistake. So yes, very good. Thank you so much. So again, no fear of consequence. So the 2 most important things to define a psychologically safe environment, as said, are I can go up to my boss, I can go up to Ashish sir and say, sir, I made a mistake. And he's like, okay, let's work it out. What happened? What can be done better? Where has this gone wrong? Right? So I made a mistake. And the second most important aspect of a psychologically safe environment is I need help. He's been teaching me, ask for help, right? So asking for help. Am I feeling safe enough to go up to my immediate manager or boss and say, I need help. So the great managers are good coaches who create psychologically safe environments. And last and the most important, we looked at the World Institute's report, right? The retention report 2019. The top reason for attrition is lack of dialogues around career growth. So these managers drive meaningful discussions around career development opportunities. So these are the key indicators of a great manager who is a good coach. So when we have all this data, when we have all these tangible outcomes, then why is still not coaching and compassion becoming a mainline function, as I said earlier? And why isn't it becoming a part of organizational culture? So the second, we can move to the next slide, please. So I thought here I will introduce some live interaction. I'm sure we are all aware of Marshall Goldsmith, right? I don't know if you've had a chance to interact with this tool. Anyone? Yes. So the Marshall Goldsmith has come up with this Marshall bot. It's an AI bot. It's an AI coach. And he has fed all his learnings, expertise, writings into this bot. Now, this Marshall bot acts as Marshall himself, right? And goes on to have a real-time conversation with you around any issues or concerns that you're facing right now. So I took the first point, that is the leadership buy-in. And Project Oxygen does demonstrate that when the ROI is so strong, then why are we not going for that? Why are we not going for integrating compassionate coaching cultures into the organization? The last point I'm taking is a tech one, the integration of tech. So how do you make a coach available to a wider audience? Accessibility. How do you make it more democratic? So we'll go into the pros and cons of tech, an AI bot or an AI coach later on. But right now, I invite you to go to this site, marshallgoldsmith.ai. And my team will also guide you. So marshallgoldsmith.ai. You can create a quick free account. Students can also try it. And faculty members too. So can you go slow, Memo? Thank you so much. And so I can also guide them. So once you have gone into the site, can you go back where the login is? So engage with Marshall Goldsmith. You go to, so this account is already created. Otherwise, you will see a pop-up saying create the login. Create your login from your Gmail account. It's quite safe. And then you will see the screen come up and you will see a blue bar popping up on the right corner, upper corner, which will say Ask Marshall. So this is going to be a real-time conversation with an AI coach bot, which is equally good, or as Marshall says, 100 times more resourceful than me. So ask Marshall. And yes, we click on that. Thank you, Mahmood. And here is where we come, new chat. You can type your question here. So HR leaders, any question that is coming to your mind, professors, students, any concern, any question, my fellow colleagues? How do I engage better with my students? How do I finish all the work that I have on my plate today? Engage in a conversation with this AI bot right now. And we'll give you a demo. So this is a question I think largely all HR leaders may have on their mind. How can I effectively manage organizational change while maintaining company culture and improving team dynamics? So you can have a real-time conversation with your chatbot. And how do you find the experience? I'll ask after 2 minutes. So Marshall is one of the most renowned coaches in the world. And imagine when Marshall says that this bot is 100 times more resourceful than him. Make sure your question is very clear and concise. So let's see what the Marshall bot says to this question. I wouldn't want you to distract you from your question, so you can continue on your mobile as well. This is for the audience who are not engaging with the AI bot right now. So these are the tips it's giving. But anyway, you could end up having a proper coaching conversation with your AI bot. So may I have some inputs, insights, and how do you find the experience? ChatGPT also. Yes, sir. So we will see the difference. So that is data-based. So generative AI is going to bring out the output from a lot of data, right? But here it is also the human wisdom integrated because it's Marshall's learnings that have been put into the AI bot. Yes, sir, but this is going to be a very focused approach. I completely agree with you, but this is going to be a very focused approach in terms of only coaching and Marshall's style of coaching. Yes, thank you so much. So thank you, Mahmood. Any insights on the experience of interacting with the AI bot? Anyone? Still thinking. The question? Oh, the Marshall bot is still thinking. So you have to be very clear with your question. Yes, sir.
Care should be taken by the manager about the family life of life.
So that again is driven by compassion. All right. So Mahmood, can we type another question, please?
Management should to motivate the employee by taking care of his family, environment. So family environment is very important. If you at the back of the family is not comfortable, then employee will also
How can family well-being be also prioritized by the manager for an employee? How can a manager, sorry, sir, how can a manager prioritize family well-being for an employee? Is that the correct articulation, sir? Thank you so much. Manager prioritize. Take care of family well-being. You can say take care of family well-being. No. Take care of family well-being of the employee. So can you remove that word? The one which is misspelled? What is the motivation? All right. I hope the Marshall bot has responded to the people on their phones. If not, you can try and modify the question. Yes, management practices, personal commitment. So here the manager has, the hat is now on the employee himself or herself. How do you manage your family well-being? By prioritizing tasks and activities at home, communicating effectively, setting clear boundaries. Maybe the question had to be a little more clear. Yes. Motivation. So we'll do that later on, once we will try and do that. So thank you so much. We can pause it here. Anyone with an experience of the Marshall bot right now? All right, we can go on to the next slide. So I asked Marshall, the moment I got to know about this bot, I was pretty excited. I'm an ICF coach. Marshall is like the god of coaching. And I wanted to understand what a coaching conversation with Marshall looked like. So I asked, can we go back, please? Oh, is the slide missing? This one, yes. So I asked the Marshall Board, I said, I want to have a compassionate coaching conversation with a difficult team member. And I'm sure we all face this. So the AI bot gave me these questions that I can pose to my team member while I'm having a conversation. Could you tell me one style that is common to all the questions? You can have a look at the questions. One common thing that is coming out from all the questions. Empathy, very good. Thank you so much. Employee centricity, very good, sir. Thank you. Absolutely. The questions are going back to the employee. Mindset of the employee. What is that, sir? What is this approach? Look within. Because coaching, the fundamental principle is self-discovery and self-awareness. Introspection. That is what, more than introspection, so self-reflection. It'll be a part of it. Yes, thank you so much. So we were talking in the panel about employee retention, and there was a mention of training practices, right? So training, which is doled out, with all due respect, maybe to a 500 people or less or more in one go, vis-a-vis an individual customized approach to a very personal challenge. Which one would work more? So this is where we are driving self-awareness and self-discovery for every single individual at the organization through a coaching intervention. Because the question is going back to the employee. It doesn't mean there's a shift. There isn't a blame shifting. There isn't a finger pointing. It's only about becoming more aware of the situation. And you see the empathetic approach. What challenges are you facing? Because if the team member is being a difficult team member, there has to be something he's going through right now, she's going through right now. How do these challenges affect your perspective on the team? That's how it is affecting the team dynamics. How can I support you? How do you see your role evolving? And what can we do to facilitate that growth? So you see, it is a shift from telling to asking. So coaching approach is not telling, but asking. And we all understand, I think Gen Z would completely agree, all of some of the students who have stayed behind. Thank you so much for that. The question is, do I end up doing what others tell me, or do I end up doing what I believe in? So which one would you go for, the former or the latter? Do I end up doing what others tell me, or do I end up doing where I find confidence and conviction? The latter. And coaching conversation drives the latter. So this was an example of an AI bot, AI coach. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. The previous one, please. Pros and cons. Previous one. So there will be some good things about using AI. There will be some not so good things. We have been discussing about that. But in terms of coaching, what do you think would be the pros and cons? In terms of if you had to introduce this into your organization. So we'll have the mic come to you. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. It works on both sides. Data can be used in the right order. Absolutely valid point, sir. Thank you so much. That would be a cons. Yes, Amarad, sir. So could you hold the mic closer?
For large institutions, the employee base is high. I believe the challenge would be to have that many coaches.
Absolutely.
The process that you integrate an AI and a very thing, and you identify which are the major concerns, red flags, and attend them on one-on-one session.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a very valid point again. And it was brought in the poll as well, lack of trained coaches. And here we are looking at massive workforces and how do we train, coach them? Yes, sir.
Roles of being
24/7 availability of world-class.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yes.
Gone can be lack of human connect. Like I have ended some sessions, the human connect, the motivation they provide.
Yes.
By looking at you just.
Yes.
That will be missing, but yeah, information and coaching is available to everybody. It has democratized everything.
Wonderful, sir.
AI democratized everything.
Access to coaching, definitely. Thank you so much for those amazing points to all the industry leaders who shared them. So the pros are accessibility, democratization, at your fingertips. Like how many people can you maximum get coached in an organization in a month? Even if you have a stream of internal coaches, 20 to 30 people, and that you would choose the senior leaders. And if you want to really make it accessible, so one second, if you really want to make it accessible to your 1,000 employees, you can have the AI bot catering to all those 1,000 employees within a period of 1 month. You need to schedule your sessions with the coaches, which are pre-marked in the calendars, the busy calendars. And you cannot get to speak to a coach maybe out of your scheduled time. But you may walk out of a heated meeting with your team members or your boss, and you could directly go to the AI bot and say, I'm going through this. How should I deal with it? What are the immediate impacts on me, and what could have been the better outcomes? How could I have behaved better or, showed up better for these conversations? So these are all the pros. However, cons, I think largely I would agree with Amaraj sir, is the lack of human touch and the lack of psychological depth. So Susan David, who is like the global authority on empathy and compassion, she just released some of her work on this debate, on this hot debate of AI and coaching. So she said, I'm really concerned because sometimes the AI bot could end up doing psychological harm because they don't understand the dimensions of human psychology. So until and unless we can prepare AI to be up to that point, which will come very later into the future, we are still experimenting with AI bots, coach bots. Yes, sir.
Feel cones when you use technology, it's all it's generalized. Like he was also mentioning, so they are generic answers. So they are not specific to industry, specific to individuals. So that is. So when we feed the correct prompt, also at times there is a chance that it gets confused when you write so much.
Yeah.
So the chances are that it is trying to find an answer.
I agree with you. So I have my personal coach again. I'm a coach, but I do have my coach, and I can blabber on for 30 minutes while the coach is patiently listening to me and still arrive at the right question to ask me. Maybe 30 minutes of a prompt to an AI won't work. Yes, right? So that's the limitation again. Thank you so much for that. So we have time. I'm going to invite 2 volunteers, if you would be up for it, to have for a role play, where one is a coach and one is a coachee. And we try a compassionate coaching approach, which is employee-centric. And as sir said, no telling, but only asking. So we can try it out. So 2 industry leaders who will lead the conversation. So wonderful, that's how it is. Yes, please. Thank you so much. Let's have a big round of applause for them. But there will always be a first time, right? I also started my coaching journey in 2018. That was the first time for me. So please on the stage. Thank you, have a chair. Sir, आप आगे भी चलिए देखना क्लासरूम में है. Just be courageous. Oh, wonderful. Let's have a big round of applause. Great. So you can decide amongst yourselves who will be the coach and who will be the client.
I think you decide.
No, considering the experience you carry, I think you could be a better coach.
All right. So sir is the coach and sir is the client. So the client needs to bring up any concern or issue that you're facing. And coaching is a space of non-judgment. Coaching is a very safe, psychologically safe space. It is built on trust. So whatever is discussed here, if it's an authentic concern that is brought up, it stays in this room. And we allow them a space for having this conversation. Thank you so much. 5 minutes, sir.
Okay. Hello, sir. I'm Prasoon. My name is Prasoon Ji, and I am head of recruitment in one of the European IT firm, which is Sopra Steria. Today, the biggest challenge which I'm facing, and I need your advice on that. I am actually experiencing from last few months that sense of accountability is missing in my team members. Although, in spite of putting all the efforts, as a leader, I'm not able to bring that change in the mindset. So, what do you suggest? What shall I do? How-
Yeah, I think I could understand, but like, it's about the accountability missing or it's not encouraged among your employees. So it is challenging. So like you have to probably clarify what is expected of them, expectations from the employees. Maybe in terms of the targets you have given them, maybe that are the goals, wider goals of the organization and the mission of the organization. So probably you have to make them understand that what exactly organization is expecting from them. And then second will be the measurement of their output. I mean, what you expected and what is the outcome. So when you probably regularly monitor that, then accountability definitely can be improved. That's what my view is.
Thank you, sir. I
So that was a brilliant mentoring session.
Thank you.
So I would request you to frame a question to Sir around this issue,
Right.
which is going back to about accountability.
Prasoon. Pareshan ho, but Prasoon now.
So that's very good. So only like what I remember, like did you hold meetings with them and interacted with them? Like what problem basically you have and why accountability is not coming forward? So did you ask them? And are they clear about their goals, their expectations? Do they report regularly to you? Those all kind of probably we have to check out.
So, sir, yes, I do meet them. In fact, I have also shown them the larger picture. The purpose. Why recruitment is important in this particular area. Why we need to be a little more agile and bring more speed in the entire process. I have explained to them entirely. I have shown them the purpose, because we are end up losing revenue if we don't do it. We are not going to meet the budget. We explain entire of in spite of explaining everything on almost regular basis. They agree to it and they say yes, we'll do. But then still, I see that those things are missing in their day-to-day activities.
Have you checked out with them if there is any need for training and maybe upscaling or reskilling their jobs? So could you find out the need for where is the gap? What they know and what they should know, what they should have known. Could you find the gap analysis of that skills so that did you do that so that we can bring them to the level which you want them to be.
Uh, I think now when you're saying this, something is triggering in my mind. Yes, I have done trainings for them, but it's very more like a generic one. Rather than what I feel that now I should do a individual level skill gap analysis and see, can I provide some specific training to these individuals based on their training need rather than having a generic training for all of them. So thank you, sir. I think
So much.
Big round of applause, please. Lot of fire. Thank you. Thank you, Parishan, Prasoon, sir. Now I hope that Parishan is gone. Thank you, sir.
His cooperation that I.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
a lot of hurdles with them. First, as you mentioned in the poll, time constraint.
Yes, sir.
Which and the pre-session preparation, because the test is online test is being provided, and the executive have to go through that test. And after that, the coach had to identify some traits, and on the basis of those traits, he discuss with them.
Two sessions happen.
Here, arrange the sessions monthly basis.
Great, sir.
And after the three sessions, or within the year, means each quarter the session.
Yes,
is,
yes, sir.
But the impact is not being considered. How to measure the
How to
impact
measure.
of this. That is the big concern. Even our organization expand the cross of the these to engage the cross in that of coaching for the senior executive. But I have not seen any kind of the
Impact. All right. So thank you so much for sharing though. Let's have a big round of applause. Tell the industry you head. The industry you head is banking. Oh, lovely. So government, right? So I'm working with the government banks, PSUs, where coaching is being offered to from the senior most management, that is the CGM level, to the AGMs. And I see a beautiful trend emerging in the government sector around this. And I'm working with CGMs myself. And it is there is a sort of questionnaire that is given out to the CGMs or the AGMs or the DGMs, and based on that, three most important areas of improvement are identified, and then the coach is made aware of those.
Sure. Hi, this is Vikram. So when we, okay, perfect. So it is not about a particular department. I think what we have recently done is cross-team trainings. So sales have been doing sales, marketing have been doing marketing, tech has been doing tech, but they don't understand how the other teams are working. At the end of the day, the profit has to come from the organization. So whether it is through technology or through marketing. So we also try to do that, they also understand the pain points of the other department. They also learn the learnings like how they can contribute. Let's say a marketing campaign has to be run. So it is not only the marketing people who have to write content and the graphics. The tech team also have to come and tell, okay, this is something which is very connecting to the end user today. Probably write the prompts in a way that your end user can be really attracted with this marketing. So those kind of cross training certainly we have really seen a huge impact. So yeah, information technology.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Let's
you.
have a big round of applause for so. So this is where it's already being implemented. One second. So this is what we're doing at the organization. We have an advisory board around coaching. So do you see an advisory board coming up in your organizations? Any compassion newsletters, compassion champions, or can we make this as a part of KPI? So thank you so much. I hope we are all walking away with some learning. So you are the industry leaders here. I'm the one who's become most enriched, and as our MC continues to say, enlightened. But thank you so much. And how many of you are now charged to think about it? Please give it a thought. Compassionate coaching cultures. A raise of hands. We are professors. We are driven by habit. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I will speak later on.
Thank you, Payal ma'am, for a wonderful and interactive workshop. Thank you for sharing your insights with us on how it has become so important to generate a culture of coaching and compassion and to drive employee morale, productivity, and business outcomes. Thank you, ma'am. Please join me in thanking Payal ma'am and all the participants with a huge round of applause. So I see all of you have been sitting for such a long time. So we will be taking a small break and resume a session at 2:30. So I request our delegates to kindly join us for lunch at Faculty Club. Thank you very much.